Hello, konnichiwa, marhaba, Speedo here. At the launch of Modern Warfare, a lot of people looked at Modern Warfare from a surface level and concluded that it had a very limited launch content. But that's not true. Modern Warfare launched with a lot of content. It launched with 10 6v6 maps, 7 gunfight maps, 4 ground war maps, and the map of Spec Ops, which also happens to be the map of Warzone, also known as Verdansk. If you put the numbers together, Modern Warfare launched with 22 maps, not 10. Compare that with Cold War, which launched with 9 6v6 maps, 2 Fireteam maps, 1 Zombies map, and Dead Ops Arcade. When we add the numbers, it becomes a total of 13 maps. And if you're not a Zombies fan and you were only there for multiplayer, then you only had 11 maps to play with at launch. If we apply the same logic for Modern Warfare and exclude Spec Ops, then you still have 21 maps to play with. And by the way, I want to briefly talk about Vanguard and the fact that it will launch with 16 multiplayer maps and 4 Champion Hill maps, making it a total of 20 launch maps, which is marketed as something unheard of in the Call of Duty franchise, right? Well, Modern Warfare 2019 launched with 22 maps. I don't see anyone making a big deal about it. Anyway, the point is, don't get tricked. Vanguard launching with 20 launch maps is not groundbreaking. Anyway, let's move to the maps that were released during the seasons from Season 1 to Season 5 and see if Cold War caught up with the lack of launch content. Because fanboys always say things like, the game just launched, just wait for them to add more content. So let's look at Cold War first. I have made this Excel sheet where it shows the number of maps that were added with each season. You can pause the video and look at the individual numbers, but the number we're interested in right now is the total maps added by the end of Season 5, which is 40 maps. Compare that with Modern Warfare, which had a total of 47 maps at the end of Season 5. That is a difference of 7 maps, and that is why Cold War is a downgrade from Modern Warfare 2019, because it has less content, even with the maps added throughout the seasons. There is one aspect that might be subjective about this, and that's the argument of, well, the quantity might be more, but I really don't enjoy all of these maps. And that is true to some extent. But the point here is, if you're going to put out less content, then you have to make sure that it's perfect content. And that's something I can't say for neither of these games. And it's something that is impossible to do unless you're a god. If Treyarch came and said something like, guys, we're going to put out less content this year because we're trying to focus on quality, which Treyarch doesn't care anymore, by the way, then hell yeah, it would be awesome. But if they're going to release some maps that are good and some maps that are bad, which is totally normal, by the way, because as I said, it's impossible to please everyone, then why did they decrease the total number of maps? It just doesn't make sense to me. And the only explanation that I always come down to is that Treyarch just doesn't care anymore. I wanted to end the video here, but I know that someone will inevitably come and leave a comment and say something like, they're working on the next game. That is why Cold War has less content. Or something like, they're working on zombies for Vanguard. That's why Cold War doesn't have any content. Well, first of all, that doesn't automatically negate my complaint. It is still a downgrade. And second, the dev teams always work on multiple projects at the same time. You have to understand this. Back in the day, Treyarch was working on Black Ops 1 while they were working on DLC for World at War. And back in the day, it was a smaller team and they were in a 2-year cycle and game development was way harder than it is today. But at the end, they were still able to deliver. Now, the team has gotten bigger. They have a 3-year cycle instead of a 2-year cycle. Game development is easier than it was back in the day. But at the end, they can't accomplish what they were able to accomplish back in the day. What could be the reason? You know my reason. They don't care. Now I want to know your reason in the comments. Peace out.